Welcome to this Jurassic Park inspired build on a mini Nublar island. I wanted to use all of the dinosaurs from the original films, even though that's been done before. Well, yes, it's been done before. I wanted to have my own take on it. I figured it would be a good park to try and recapture that original beauty of the films, along with using hard canon and soft canon dinosaurs, like the T-Rex and the Velociraptors. But there are so many more dinosaurs that we can use. Now, to get started, we need to set up our helipad. So I wanted to take this from the original movie, like almost as much as possible for Jurassic World Evolution 2. We don't have waterfalls, which I'm super excited for JPE2 to have. I think a lot of people are. But for right now, to kind of keep myself in the hype for it, I'm trying to keep going on Jurassic World Evolution 2 because, well, I normally play Planet Zoo or Prehistoric Kingdom, so it's kind of been refreshing being able to do a project where all of the things are already pre-built for me, because I usually spend about a week on an enclosure, but with this project I've been able to sit down each night and do an enclosure before I go to bed, which has been really fun, and it's been really rewarding to see how quickly this park has been coming together. I hope to have it completely done by the end of the month and then release it each week as it goes. Hopefully it'll be done before Jurassic World Evolution 3 is released. So one thing that I liked to do, especially right here on this little coastal area in between all the mountains, is I like to fill in with single place trees, because it feels so empty if you just use the scenery brushes. They're super helpful to fill in large areas, but once you get into the nitty gritty, you need to fill in around it, because I want it to feel lush. I want it to feel like you're in the jungle. I don't want to feel like we've taken over the whole island and eradicated anything that lived here. I want to leave a couple spaces for jungle. I want to leave a couple spaces for mountains. So this entire park isn't going to be filling up the island. There's going to be plenty of natural spaces along with plenty of spaces for our guests. This was something I did because I thought it looked good. You will probably notice that I get rid of it in the next episode, but for now, it was a good starting point because I didn't really know where I was going. I wanted to have this big entrance where you see that, but I moved it somewhere else to kind of give it the same effect. I got rid of most of the configuration thing because, well, it's kind of the boring part of building a park, So this was just testing things out, kind of seeing what I wanted the scenery in the park to look like and the shops in the park to look like. The pathing was awful. I cut out maybe 5 minutes worth of me trying to figure out that path. Yep. And so for our first entrance exhibit, I was doing something I know from Planet Zoo and Prehistoric Kingdom, where you pick something that's kind of colorful, kind of small, and at first I'm like, oh, Herrerasaurus, that would be perfect, especially because it's on the brochure. I thought it was a lot smaller than it actually is. So you'll see me put the Herrerasaurus in, but for the glamour shots, there is a different dinosaur in there. With this part of the park, I wanted to make it look like you could walk in and have lunch with the entrance exhibit. So you have to use your imagination. It's okay. But I wanted to make it kind of look like there was an entrance right there into the viewing dome. I really like these viewing domes. They make me really happy. I know you're supposed to place them in the middle, but I always place them up against a wall. That's just personal preference. This was me making a little peekaboo entrance for the enclosure. I made it a lot bigger at first. You'll see me go back and kind of fix that up a little bit. I made it a little bit more tight because I'm like, okay, it's an entrance exhibit. I want a smaller dinosaur in here, but it also has a kind of unique shape because I really like having a backstage for my dinosaurs. And so for the longest time, I would use the technique of using the concrete walls to make it look like there were doors, until I found out that I could just leave the gates open. I kind of like that a lot better because it doesn't look like I'm trying to use a technique to make something that's not there, but having the gate be able to open and close, it's kind of nice so they don't always look stuck open. And I can close them if I want to, which I don't really usually do that because I usually use the backstage as part of the extra space for the dinosaurs. I got really lucky with this exhibit because it was just big enough to kind of fit everything into it and make like a nice little viewing area. You can see me placing their food into the backstage along with another food item out front to kind of get them to move in between the two and trick their AI into thinking that they should be going to both places, which worked out extremely well. I catch them in their backstage area all the time, and I also love seeing them out front. And so I wanted to make this kind of more of a foresty enclosure. Like, you kind of have to search for them for a little bit and just wait a minute, and then all of a sudden you see a pop of color and there is the first dinosaur that you see in the park. One thing I like to do for my forested areas is using the big shrubbery to fill in the gaps, and it just makes it look more lush. I absolutely love placing rocks. I feel like it's like just kind of breathing life into the enclosures because it makes it feel more real, if that makes any sense. There's been a couple of times where I've accidentally blocked off the water because of how many rocks I've placed. And can you believe it? It was for the Compsognathus, one of the tiniest dinosaurs in the game. I didn't realize their hitboxes were that big. So I kind of went a little crazy with their rocks. Anyway, so this was the Herrerasauruses that I was throwing in here, only to realize that they were too big, so I had to tranquilize them and throw them back in that enclosure. And so eventually you will see that I put the proceratosaurus in there. I really liked the pop of color that their head crests gave me. It acted as like a good way to spot them in this big open forested enclosure, and they were just about half the size of the Herrerasaurus, so I felt better putting them in the enclosure. This is me checking up on them and kind of making sure they were all the right size. I accidentally trapped some in the backstage area with that bush that I placed there. So yeah, look at them scurry around. And so this is the first clip of the proceratosaurus. I think that they fit the enclosure a lot better, and they are a lot more content. We have a blue one, we have a green one, we have an orange one, and we have a yellow one. They all have the same base green color though, so I like that they all have something that matches, but then they have a little bit of a difference. So now back onto the building aspect. This was me checking out where I wanted to place things, kind of seeing what I wanted to do. And so I really like these signs, especially since they are from the original Jurassic Park movies. It kind of elevates the idea that this is Jurassic Park. And so I figured that I could also pretend that they are information boards, because I love information boards and being able to learn about the different dinosaurs. And so for this one, I just used your average carnivore sign. And so this was the little peekaboo area that I built. I realized I didn't really like the shape of it, so I went back and changed it a little bit. I really liked the way that this kind of enclosed it and made it feel more homey, because I wanted to make it like a little area that people could go into and kind of relax and like sit down after their long flight and just kind of watch the first exhibit. So you would have a place to sit down that wasn't a pay to eat or anything. And so this was my attempt at trying to make a little barrier in between the people and the electric fence. The pieces were kind of not doing what I wanted them to. I really wanted to use the brick pieces from Malta, but that wasn't really working out, so I had to go in with the tiny barrier pieces because their hitboxes were a little bit more kind in this situation. This They've started growing on me throughout this project. I didn't really like them at first, but they're kind of nice. And so after kind of fiddling with that for a little bit, I decided it was best to try doing the backstage. And now I really like the idea that you would have to go through one door and then go through the next to make sure that none of the dinosaurs get out. So that's why I used that gate. I also figured it would be a good storytelling aspect in the way that they could walk up to the fence and look in and kind of see how the proceratosauruses are doing. I figured a watchtower and some floodlights would be good. Just kind of make sure that we spared no expense, as John Hammond would say, to make sure that they don't escape, because we don't want that happening. Anyways, so we kind of finish this up, add some floodlights, make sure that they're all visible. And so running around trying to figure out what to do next, I wanted to throw in a couple more objects, but going to the viewing gallery, I don't really care for having a bunch of viewing galleries that look the same, so I wanted to throw some lighting in there and throw the fossils in there. I figured it would make it kind of a nice like curved area, kind of more welcoming. Throw the Jurassic Park sign in there because it is our first exhibit. I really wanted to add in some rocks here for some texture because everything is super, super flat in this game. There's not a lot of texture on the ground, and it's just one of those things that it would keep people away from the fossils because you don't really want people touching them, although they are probably just castings. It would be in the best interest to keep kids from rubbing the fossils off of the walls. And so back to the more beautification of the backstage. I don't want people looking back there and being like, oh, what's back there? It's one of those things that it would be best to keep it a secret and not let people see, but I also wanted to make sure that our staff could still get back there. So fixing up the temporary path around here was a great decision. I love kind of the odd shapeage to it. Here is when I fix the path right next to the little peekaboo window. I got super upset that I accidentally deleted everything and had to redo it, but it all worked out because I kind of like the shallower looking peekaboo entrance, and so in that corner right there we will end up building a statue with some lighting to kind of get people excited for the park. You can definitely tell that my pathing isn't really great, but it works. It does the job. I really wish that some of the paths were a little bit wider so I didn't have to fill in like this, because I don't know, I feel like with the hordes of people that come and go through the parks, that the paths that were given, even the wider ones, aren't really that big. So I've always been a huge person to make my own custom thick pathing. And just like the enclosure, I grabbed some temperate rocks to start the backdrop to what I want to do for a little statue to make people excited to go see the rest of the dinosaurs. Now, I don't plan on doing the T-Rex for a little bit, but I do plan on having a big old T-Rex enclosure. I'm super excited for it. I wanted to do some trees around it, kind of make it, again, look really forested. But you will see that I wanted to play with the lighting as well. I really, really like lighting. I love doing lighting photography and everything. So it was really fun to kind of play around with that, kind of do like an ominous looking statue with the red. And I did set my world to allow it to turn night, so I do have a chance to look at the lighting in my park and change it up. I wanted to make the pathway to the enclosure a lot more forested. I wanted to go back and forest the pathway to our first exhibit a little bit more. I really want to lean into different biomes with this park and kind of give each dinosaur their own respective area. So this is still the jungle. You are still arriving. You're not quite in a new biome yet kind of feel. And so this was me trying to figure out something to fill in this big space. I love having thick paths, but I also don't love having too thick of a path because I want some space to kind of decorate and have something to look at. The Spinosaurus skeleton kind of felt like it was a little too much right next to the T-Rex, so I took that out in favor of a fountain. So this was me kind of messing around with the entrance again because I wasn't quite too happy with it. I ended up placing a lot of foliage again to make it look more jungle-ish and kind of add a way for people to feel like they were in the jungle but also not in the jungle, and having kind of a more civilized looking jungle. I like using the bushes to kind of hide everything because there's certain things where it doesn't look too pretty. I want to make it look prettier, and the best way to do that is cover it up with a big bush. With all that aside, I ended up replacing all of the alpine boxes with the tropical boxes because I figured since I was keeping it in the tropical biome and not going somewhere else yet, it would be best to keep that theme with our trees as well. After which I wanted to go through and add some torches, and finally leaving off with a few last single place trees before we are on to our glamour shots. Thank you guys so much for staying till the end of the video. It means a lot as a starting content creator, and I really hope you enjoyed. If you want to stick around for the next episode, I would recommend hitting that subscribe button and hitting that bell icon to let you know when that next episode comes out. And as always, thank you for watching.